Everyone wants something different out of stories, and for me, it's really only one feeling that I'm looking for. However, that one feeling is hard to find because it's actually not that easy to pull off. In my opinion, it's an art in itself to create this feeling in a reader. Of course, I'm talking about those moments that leave you with your jaw dropped. If a book or a story of any kind makes me jump up in excitement or cry at the sheer awesomeness of a certain moment, it holds a special place in my heart. In other words, that feeling I'm always looking for is the hype. And this is why I love the Stormlight Archive so much. Brandon Sanderson has mastered the art of hype, with each book having at least 2 or 3 moments that leave me speechless. Whether it be Bridge 4 coming to save Dalinar in the Way of Kings, or the final battle in Words of Radiance, or Kaladin speaking the 4th ideal in Rhythm of War, all of these moments are absolutely phenomenal and made me feel out of this world. Honestly, even thinking of these moments gives me goosebumps, which just goes to show how well Brandon executes hype, or as we like to call them, Sanderlanches. Today, I want to talk about one of those Sanderlanches, a sequence that is the quintessential example of hype. A battle where everything was going wrong for each of our main characters at the beginning of it, making me feel genuinely worried for them. However, in almost the blink of an eye, the tables were turned in a way that no one expected, and it resulted in one of the most hyped sequences I've witnessed in any story ever. Of course, I'm talking about Oathbringer's Battle of Thaylen Field. The Battle of Thaylen Field is the very essence of hype, and there's many factors that contribute to making it so good. Sanderson keeps throwing problem after problem at us, all of them being new and something we've never faced before. The best part about it is how he switches the whole situation around, from everything looking hopeless to the humans actually winning. This is made possible because of the setup for this battle, the build-up. Let's briefly talk about the setup. An Everstorm is approaching Thaylen City, and instead of running it over, it actually stops. An army of singers and listeners have arrived, with Odium himself leading them. Not only that, but thousands of souls from the Everstorm rush into the city, taking control of Alethi soldiers that were led by Amaram, something that was completely unheard of. So our army has now been turned, and by the time Dalinar realizes this, it's only him, Lift, Yasna, and Renarin that are capable of fighting back. The Thaylen Queen has been kidnapped, and Dalinar's old friend and enemy, the Thrill, has been let loose on the battlefield. At this point, it's one man, Dalinar, facing an entire army on his own, a single book at his side, with seemingly no chances of help coming anytime soon. In the meantime, there's an assault on Erytheru, so the Alethi can't even send reinforcements through the Oath Gate. Needless to say, it's a bad situation, and a horrifying setup, but somehow Sanderson ties it all up in a really satisfying and epic manner. So let's talk about the characters involved, as we're getting many perspectives at the same time. It creates this immense tension, especially when things are going wrong on every single battlefront, whether it be Erytheru, Shadesmar, or Thaylen City itself. Kaladin, for example, has a massive role in creating the necessary tension, because not only had he just failed his mission, he was in a whole other dimension. Kaladin, Adolin, and Shallan seem to be unable to return back to Roshar, let alone that specific battlefield. On top of that, Kaladin was still in shock after being incapable, in his mind, of saving Elhokar, just as he was about to become a Radiant. At this point, Kaladin just couldn't swear the fourth ideal of the Windrunners because he couldn't accept another death on his name. He wasn't ready. Plus, the fuse that blocked off cultivation's perpendicularity, the only way back to the physical realm. But the thing is, even if Kaladin and friends did use that route, they would end up in the Horn Eater Peaks, which is pretty far away from Thaylen City. So even if they did get back to Roshar, they couldn't have been of much help. This is great build-up because now you've left the readers genuinely curious as to how this battle is supposed to go now that the main character is trapped, physically and mentally. The main character that, for the past 2 books, always saved the day and said his ideals. On the other side, we have Szeth. He's just chosen to follow Dalinar, but there's a massive issue that, if you think about it, affects not just him, but every Radiant. There just isn't enough Stormlight, and in this case, to feed Nightblood, his sword. Soon enough, the blade starts feeding on both Lift and Szeth's life force, to the point where they both fall to the ground with black smoke consuming them. Now, this was scary, because we didn't know how this could be stopped. At this point, there wasn't any proper way to renew Stormlight spheres, except for high storms, and there wasn't one nearby at all. Again, this was disheartening and a genius way to establish yet another problem. Yes, we have our Radiants, but where was the Stormlight required for them to even use in a fight? Surely, not even including Nightblood, they needed a lot to take on an entire army. We can see a pattern here, where Brandon continuously presents to us a problem that we don't know the solution to, since we've never really faced it. In words of Radiance, Kaladin and Szeth were fighting during a high storm, so Stormlight wasn't an issue. By doing this, Brandon is putting us in a situation where we really can't make predictions accurately, which is awesome. I personally love being surprised by whatever is to come, and at this point, I had zero clue as to what could even happen. But there was someone who did have an idea as to what was to come. Renarin. Now, this one was ominous and seemed to work towards the idea that we could actually lose here. We find out that Renarin is not bonded to a normal Spren of Honor, but to one corrupted by odium. This means that he has powers that we're not familiar with, one of them being the ability to see into the future. And in his visions, he sees himself getting killed by Jasnah, as well as Dalinar being turned over to Odium's side. I mean, here we didn't know what that future sight entailed, but clearly it had worked before, because it predicted the Everstorm. Not to mention, Jasnah seemed to be actually firm on killing Renarin, which kind of fit her personality too. Another problem, another seemingly nail in the coffin. And then we get to Teft. With him, we'd already seen how bad his condition was getting with the moss, and honestly, I didn't know if he was even capable of fighting back the invasion of Urithiru. Not to mention, one of the big reasons it got invaded in the first place was because of Teft's mistake of selling his Bridge 4 jacket, which was then used by one of the intruders. We got very little glimpses into what was happening there at Urithiru, and things were just not looking good. These were the only troops we had left, and now if they were defeated too, there would literally be no one to back up Dalinar at Thaylen Field. And finally, we arrive at Dalinar. One man against an entire army. Not just an army, but also the monsters that defined him for a large portion of his life. Odium and the Thrill. Dalinar is quite literally facing his demons in this moment. While he tries to offer Odium a contest of champions, and Odium agrees, his champion seems to be Dalinar himself, which Renarin had predicted. Odium makes Dalinar relive that moment in the rift all over again, opening up his old wounds and reminding him of everything he's done. All of his pain. Odium is trying to make Dalinar his, once and for all. All of this is going down at once. Kaladin stuck in another world, Szeth losing his life, Renarin seeing visions of his own death, Teft unable to speak the third ideal, and Dalinar facing his demons. Nothing is going right, which is why this battle is so good. 90% of the hype is created right here, by stacking each and every odd against our heroes, all of them unknown. It pushes us to the very edge of our seats, because now we don't even know if things will go well. And even if they do, the biggest question is how? How can all of these problems be solved in a way that makes sense? And my god, the answer to that is just brilliant. It not only answers all our questions, not only solves all our problems, but does it in a way that ties up Dalinar's arc perfectly, and also makes it hella hype. And so, Dalinar makes his own perpendicularity. As we know, he combines the three realms by claiming that he is unity, and this creates a path to Shadesmar, right where Kaladin and friends are. Not only that, it renews all the spheres in the city, which gives the Radiants access to more Stormlight than they've ever held. This helps out Szeth and Nightblood's situation perfectly, while also solving the issue about resources. Most importantly, it fits Dalinar's arc really well. His whole thing for the past 3 books has been to unite. Unite Alethkar, unite the Knights Radiant, unite Roshar, and now he literally unites the 3 realms of existence. It also fits his Knight Order of Bondsmith perfectly. He creates bonds and links between everything, therefore solving all the problems at once. That plus Jasnah saving Renarin and not killing him proves to Renarin that his visions could be wrong, therefore squashing any ideas that Dalinar would lose. We finally have hope again. This scene had me losing my mind because it's so simple but nuanced and genius at the same time. Everything clicks into place and just creates this moment of pure raw epicness. And then we get arguably my favorite part about hype moments, the dramatic entrances. Right as Amaram is about to slash into Dalinar, boom, out of the giant pillar of energy comes out Kaladin Stormblessed, giving us the face-off we've been waiting to see since the Way of Kings, Amaram versus Kaladin. Then Szeth and Lift arrive, Jasnah arrives, Renarin, Shallan, Adolin. The Knights Radiant have finally come together, minus a few orders. Shallan then proceeds to create an entire army out of light weaving to distract the enemy, which is just great. And then finally, as Renarin has an optimistic vision of the Oathgate, Teft, now a Windrunner of the Third Ideal, opens the gate and sends all the Alethi reinforcements into Thaylen City. If this isn't one of the greatest battles in fiction, I don't know what is. From a seemingly hopeless situation to a snowball effect where everything starts clicking and coming together in a perfectly executed manner. From one man with a book by his side to a group of Radiants backed up by an army. This is one of the greatest sequences in all of Stormlight, and one of my favorite in any piece of media. The Battle of Thaylen Field is one that is filled with epic, heart-wrenching, and nail-biting moments that took us all by storm. It's written in a way that is so natural, yet tense, and masterfully creates that feeling in me that I crave when I experience stories. It is, therefore, in my opinion, the very definition of the art of hype. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider liking, subscribing, and all that good stuff. And leave a comment down below to what your favorite Sanderlanche is. Other than that, I guess I'll see you on the next one.